The Eclipse Voyager soared through the stars once more, its crew rested and its systems humming with newfound strength. The repairs and upgrades had transformed the ship into something far more capable than before, but Ryan knew it wasn't the technology that made them formidable, it was the people aboard. Each member of the crew had proven their worth time and again, and together, they were a force to be reckoned with. As they left the colony behind, the galaxy stretched out before them, vast and unpredictable. Emily monitored the comms, listening for any signs of trouble or allies. Jake plotted their course, his fingers dancing over the controls as he guided the ship toward their next destination. Lila stayed busy in the engine room, double-checking every system to ensure they wouldn't face another breakdown. And Ryan stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the endless expanse of space, lost in thought. Word of their encounter with the Vraxians continued to spread. Other ships began sharing stories of the Eclipse Voyager's bravery, and soon their names were known across trade routes and colonies. Pilots who once feared the Vraxians now spoke of standing their ground, inspired by the tale of a humble cargo ship that had taken on a pirate fleet and won. Even Earth Command took notice, issuing commendations and offering additional support to deter future attacks. But fame wasn't what drove Ryan and his crew. It was the knowledge that they had made a difference, that their actions might save lives in the future. Still, Ryan couldn't shake the feeling that their fight wasn't over. The Vraxians were cunning and relentless, and Calthar would not forget the humiliation he'd suffered. Somewhere out there, the alien leader was regrouping, planning his next move. "They'll come after us again," Ryan said one evening, breaking the quiet of the bridge. The others looked up from their tasks, their expressions serious but unworried. "Let them," Layla replied, her voice steady. "We've got better shields, stronger weapons, and a crew that knows how to use them. And we got each other," Emily added softly. "That's what got us through last time." Jake grinned, leaning back in his chair. "Besides, they already know what happens when they mess with us. Maybe they'll think twice before trying anything stupid." Ryan nodded, a faint smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. His crew was right. They weren't the same people who had set out on this journey weeks ago. They were stronger, smarter, and more united than ever. If the Vraxians came for them again, they'd be ready. For now, though, they focused on their mission, delivering supplies to those in need, exploring uncharted sectors, and helping where they could. The galaxy was full of challenges, but also opportunities, to learn, to grow, and to make a difference. With each jump through hyperspace, the Eclipse Voyager carried not just cargo, but hope. One night, as the ship drifted silently through the void, Ryan stepped onto the observation deck. The stars twinkled beyond the glass, countless pinpricks of light scattered across an infinite canvas. He wasn't alone. Leela joined him, sipping a cup of coffee as she gazed at the view. "You ever wonder what's out there?" she asked, gesturing toward the endless horizon. "Beyond the maps, beyond the colonies." "All the time," Ryan admitted, "but I think we'll find out someday. Together." Leela smiled, her reflection shimmering in the glass. "Whatever's waiting for us, I'm glad we're facing it as a team." Ryan didn't respond immediately. He simply stood there, watching the stars, feeling a sense of peace despite the unknown dangers ahead. They had faced impossible odds and emerged victorious, not because they were invincible, but because they refused to give up. The aliens had picked the wrong human ship to mess with, and Ryan knew they would never forget it. As the Eclipse Voyager sailed onward, its crew prepared for whatever lay ahead. They were explorers, survivors, and fighters. Legends in the making, and no matter what the galaxy threw at them, they would rise to meet it, together. The repairs to the Eclipse Voyager were nearly complete, and the station buzzed with activity as engineers made final adjustments. The ship gleamed faintly under the harsh lights of the docking bay, its hull patched and polished, though scars from the battle remained, a reminder of what they'd endured. Inside, the crew worked alongside the technicians, ensuring every system was functioning properly before their departure. Ryan stood on the bridge, watching as the diagnostics ran across the consoles. Leela had done an impressive job coordinating with the engineers, and Jake's input on navigation systems had paid off. The ship felt more responsive than ever. Even Emily's efforts in communications had resulted in upgraded equipment that promised clearer signals and stronger encryption. "We're ready," Leela announced, stepping onto the bridge. Her face was smudged with grease, but her smile was bright. "Engines are good, shields are holding steady, and life support won't cut out anytime soon." Jake leaned back in his chair, stretching his arms. "And I triple-checked the disruptor core. It's been reinforced and recalibrated, ready for whatever comes next." Emily joined them, carrying a tablet filled with updates. "Earth Command confirmed receipt of my report. They're sending reinforcements to patrol the area where we encountered the Vraxians. Looks like our fight might actually make a difference." Ryan nodded, pride swelling in his chest. "Good. Maybe fewer ships will fall victim to those pirates now." He paused, glancing at each member of his team. "We've come a long way since we left Earth, and after everything we've faced, I think we can handle whatever else is out there." Sam and Mia stopped by later, bringing supplies and a few parting words of advice. "You folks are tougher than you look," Sam said, shaking Ryan's hand. "Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." Mia smirked, crossing her arms. "Just try not to blow yourselves up next time. We won't always be around to save you." The crew laughed, the tension of recent days finally easing. As the Starlight Runner prepared to depart, Sam and Mia waved goodbye, their freighter disappearing into the stars. Watching them go, Ryan felt a pang of gratitude, not just for their help, but for the reminder that even in the vastness of space, humanity could still rely on kindness and courage. With the Eclipse Voyager fully operational, the crew set a course for the colony they'd originally been heading toward. Supplies were loaded, coordinates plotted, and engines hummed to life. For the first time in weeks, the journey felt peaceful. The galaxy stretched endlessly before them, full of both danger and possibility. As they traveled, news of their encounter spread quickly. Other traders and explorers who passed through the repair station shared stories of the cargo ship that had taken on a fleet of Vraxian pirates. And one. By the time they reached the colony, word had reached the settlers too. When the Eclipse Voyager docked, the crew was greeted not just as deliverers of supplies, but as heroes. A small crowd gathered around the ship, cheering as Ryan and his team stepped onto the platform. A local leader approached, extending his hand. "We heard about what you did out there. You've given us hope that we don't have to live in fear of the Vraxians anymore." Ryan shook the man's hand, humbled by the attention. "We were just doing our job. But if our actions inspire others to stand up against threats like the Vraxians, then maybe some good came out of all this." The colonists celebrated their arrival with a feast, filling the air with laughter and music. The crew enjoyed the warmth of human connection, something they hadn't realized they'd missed during their harrowing journey. For a brief moment, they allowed themselves to relax, knowing they'd earned it. But Ryan knew the galaxy wouldn't wait for them to rest. The Vraxians were still out there, and other dangers lurked in the shadows. Still, he felt confident. They'd faced impossible odds and emerged stronger, not because of advanced weapons or superior technology, but because they refused to give up. As the festivities wound down, Ryan stood outside the colony's main hall, gazing at the stars. His crew joined him one by one, their expressions thoughtful but resolute. "They picked the wrong ship to mess with," Jake said, breaking the silence. Ryan smiled faintly. "They sure did. And if they, or anyone else, tries again, we'll be ready." Together, they turned back toward the Eclipse Voyager ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. In the endless expanse of space, they were more than just survivors. They were legends in the making. The repair station was a bustling hub of activity. its metallic corridors echoing with the sounds of tools clinking and voices shouting orders. Dockworkers in grease-stained uniforms moved between ships, their faces focused as they patched up battered hulls and replaced burned-out components. For Ryan and his crew, it was a welcome sight, even if it meant facing the reality of how much work lay ahead. As the Eclipse Voyager settled into its assigned dock, Sam and Mia guided them through the initial inspection process. Engineers swarmed around the ship, assessing the damage caused by the fractions and the EMP blast. Lila stayed close, explaining the ship's unique systems to the repair team and pointing out areas that needed immediate attention. She worked tirelessly, her hands moving almost as fast as her mind as she tried to speed up the repairs. "They're good," Sam said, nodding toward the engineers. "But fixing a ship like yours won't be cheap." Ryan sighed, running a hand through his hair. "We'll figure it out. Maybe Earth Command will reimburse us for the prototype weapon. They were the ones who gave it to us, after all." Sam chuckled dryly. "Good luck with that. Military brass doesn't usually hand out refunds." Despite the challenges, the crew found moments of relief. Jake wandered the station, marveling at the variety of ships docked there. Some were sleek and advanced, while others looked like they'd been held together with duct tape and prayers. He struck up conversations with other pilots and mechanics, trading stories and picking up tips for future repairs. Emily, meanwhile, spent hours in the station's communications center, trying to reach Earth Command and update them on the encounter with the Vraxians. "It's slow going," she admitted to Ryan during one of their brief check-ins. "The signal delay is brutal, but I think they got most of my report." "Good work," Ryan said. "Every bit of intel helps. The more people know about the Vraxians, the better prepared we'll be next time." Leela joined them later, her face streaked with dirt, but her eyes bright with determination. "The engineers say they can fix the engines and shields within 2 days. If we prioritize. Life support is stable for now, so we should focus on getting mobile again." Ryan nodded. "Do it. And make sure the disruptor core gets upgraded too. We might need it again." The days passed quickly, filled with long hours of hard work and short breaks to recharge. The crew grew closer during this time, bonding over shared meals in the station's mess hall and late-night talks about what they'd faced and what lay ahead. They knew the galaxy was vast and dangerous, but they also knew they could rely on each other. On the second day, an unexpected visitor arrived at the station. Admiral Hayes, the same man who had secretly equipped the Eclipse Voyager with the prototype weapon. His presence sent ripples through the crew, especially when he requested a private meeting with Ryan. "I heard about your run-in with the Vraxians," Hayes said, his tone measured but impressed. "You handled yourselves well under pressure." "We did what we had to," Ryan replied, his voice steady. "But we wouldn't have made it without your weapon, or the help of some passing traders." Hayes nodded. "Luck played a part, but skill matters more. That's why I chose your ship for this mission. You proved me right." Ryan frowned. "What mission? You never told us about any mission." Hayes leaned back, his expression serious. "The weapon wasn't just a gift, it was a test. We've been developing new technologies to counter threats like the Vraxians, but we needed real-world data. Your encounter provided exactly what we needed." Ryan felt a surge of anger, but kept it in check. "So we were guinea pigs." "In a way," Hayes admitted. "But you survived and thrived. That makes you heroes, whether you wanted to be or not." Before Ryan could respond, Hayes stood and extended his hand. "Earth Command owes you a debt. Consider your repairs paid for, along with upgrades to your ship. And if you ever want to join our Special Operations Division, you'll have a place waiting." Ryan shook the Admiral's hand, but didn't commit. When he returned to his crew, he relayed the conversation, leaving out nothing. They listened quietly, their expressions a mix of pride and frustration. "We didn't ask for this," Leela said finally, "but we stepped up anyway. That says something about us. Jake grinned. Yeah, it says we're tougher than anyone gives us credit for. Ryan smiled faintly, looking at each of them in turn. Whatever happens next, we'll face it together. The aliens picked the wrong human ship to mess with, and they'll learn that lesson again if they try. For now, though, they allowed themselves a moment to rest. The Eclipse Voyager was being repaired, their supplies were safe, and they were alive. In the vast, unpredictable expanse of space, that was victory enough. The Starlight Runner towed the battered Eclipse Voyager through the void, its engines straining under the added weight. Inside the freighter's cramped but functional cabin, Sam Brooks and Mia Torres worked together to keep both ships on course. They were a mismatched pair. Sam, with his grizzled demeanor and years of experience navigating the stars, and Mia, younger and sharper, with a quick wit and an even quicker temper. Despite their differences, they moved like a well-oiled machine, clearly accustomed to handling tough situations. Back aboard the Eclipse Voyager Ryan and his crew did what they could to stabilize their ship. Lila focused on patching up critical systems, while Jake helped reroute limited power to life support. Emily stayed near the comms, maintaining a fragile connection with the Starlight Runner *. The air was heavy with exhaustion, but there was also a sense of cautious optimism. For the first time in hours, they weren't fighting for their lives. Sam's voice crackled over the intercom. All right, folks, we're clear of the debris field. You're safe, for now. Ryan exhaled deeply, leaning against the wall of the bridge. Thanks, Sam. We owe you one. Don't mention it, Sam replied, his tone gruff but kind. Just doing my job. Besides, I've run into those Vraxian scum before. Nasty bunch. What were you hauling that got their attention? Supplies, Ryan said simply. Food, medical gear, spare parts. Nothing valuable enough to risk our necks over. Mia chimed in, her voice sharp. Maybe not to you, but the Vraxians don't care about value. They prey on weak targets, easy pickings. Guess they didn't expect much from a cargo ship. They underestimated us, Ryan said, a hint of pride creeping into his voice. Won't happen again. Mia raised an eyebrow, though no one could see it over the comms. You took down a Vraxian fleet with a cargo hauler. Color me impressed. It wasn't easy, Ryan admitted. We had a prototype weapon. Something Earth Command slipped onto our ship before we left. It saved us once or twice, but it burned out after the EMP. Sam whistled low. An EMP? Bold move. Must have drained your reserves completely. It did, Leela interjected, joining the conversation. We're lucky to have any power left at all. Well, you're in good hands now, Sam said. Once we reach the nearest system, we'll get you patched up. Might take a few days, but you'll be space-worthy again soon enough. The relief in the room was palpable. Jake slumped into his chair, letting out a long breath. I don't care how long it takes, as long as we don't have to fight anyone else. Emily smiled faintly, though her expression remained guarded. Do you think the Vraxians will follow us? Doubt it, Sam replied. Their ships are dead in the water, and even if they recover, they won't chase us this far. Not without risking their own hides. Still, Ryan couldn't shake the feeling that the danger wasn't entirely behind them. He'd faced pirates before, and he knew better than to assume anything was truly over. But for now, they were safe, and that was enough. As the two ships continued their journey, Sam and Mia shared stories of their own encounters with the Vraxians. They spoke of ambushes in uncharted sectors, narrow escapes, and the brutal efficiency of the alien pirates. Listening to them, Ryan realized just how fortunate they'd been to survive. The Eclipse Voyager wasn't built for combat, and yet they'd managed to hold their own against overwhelming odds. You're tougher than you look, Maya said eventually, her tone softer than before. Most crews would have surrendered by now, or worse. We had something worth fighting for, Ryan said quietly. Each other. This ship, and the people waiting for us at the colony. Mia nodded, seeming to understand. Good. Keep that fire alive. Space is cruel, but it respects those who refuse to back down. By the time they reached the edge of the star system, the tension on the Eclipse Voyager had eased considerably. Layla reported progress on restoring partial power, and Jake managed to stabilize the navigation systems. Emily maintained contact with Sam, coordinating their approach to a nearby repair station. When the docking bay finally came into view, a sprawling structure orbiting a small rocky planet, the crew let out a collective sigh of relief. It wasn't home, but it was close enough. As the Starlight Runner released its tow line, and the Eclipse Voyager drifted toward the station, Ryan turned to his team. "We made it," he said, his voice steady but filled with quiet pride. "But this isn't the end. The Vraxians aren't gone, and neither are the dangers out here. If we want to keep surviving, we need to stay ready for anything." His words hung in the air, a reminder of the challenges ahead. But for now, they had earned a moment of peace. The aliens had picked the wrong human ship to mess with, and Ryan knew they wouldn't forget it anytime soon. The Eclipse Voyager floated silently in the vast emptiness of space, its systems dead and its crew holding their breath. The EMP had done its job. The Vraxian ships were motionless, their once menacing forms now dark and lifeless. But the victory felt hollow. Without power, the Eclipse Voyager was just as helpless as its enemies. The only sound on the ship was the faint creak of metal as it cooled, a reminder of how close they'd come to destruction. Ryan stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the view screen. He could see the outlines of the Vraxian vessels against the backdrop of stars, their jagged shapes eerily still. "Status report," he said, breaking the silence. Emily checked her console, though most of it was unresponsive. "Our comms are down, but I managed to reroute some power to the sensors. The Vraxians aren't moving. Their systems are completely fried." Leela climbed onto the bridge, her face streaked with grease and sweat. "Engines are offline. Shields too. Life support is barely holding. We've got maybe 12 hours before we run out of air." Jake followed her in, looking equally exhausted. "And that's if we're lucky. The EMP hit us hard. Even if we fix the basics, we're not going anywhere fast." Ryan clenched his jaw, his mind racing. They had bought themselves time, but time wasn't enough. They needed help, and soon. "Emily, did anyone pick up our last distress signal?" She hesitated, then shook her head. "I don't know. The EMP knocked out our transmitter too. If someone heard us, they'll have to find us blind." Ryan turned away, frustration bubbling beneath his calm exterior. He hated feeling powerless, but there was nothing he could do about the situation right now. All they could do was wait and hope. Hours passed in tense silence. The crew worked tirelessly to repair what little they could, scavenging parts from less critical systems to keep life support running. Leela rigged a makeshift ventilation system to circulate what little oxygen remained, while Jake tried to jury-rig the engines using spare components. Emily monitored the sensors, watching for any sign of movement from the Vraxians or anyone else. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Emily's voice broke through the quiet. "Captain, I'm picking something up." Ryan turned sharply. "What is it?" "It's faint, but it's a ship," she said, adjusting her headset. "Not Vraxian. Human." Relief flooded the room, but Ryan stayed cautious. "Are you sure? Could be another pirate gang sniffing around." "No," Emily said firmly. "The signal matches a civilian registry. It's small, probably a trader or a scout, but it's heading this way." Ryan allowed himself a small smile. "Good work. Keep trying to hail them. Layla, Jake, get ready to greet our visitors. We might need to convince them we're worth saving." As the hours dragged on, the unknown ship drew closer. Through the damaged sensors, they could make out its rough shape, a battered old freighter with mismatched panels and scorch marks along its hull. It wasn't much to look at, but to the crew of the Eclipse Voyager it was a lifeline. When the ship finally came within range, a gruff voice crackled over the comms. "This is Sam Brooks of the Starlight Runner *. You folks need a hand." Ryan exhaled deeply, relief washing over him. "You have no idea," he replied. "We're stranded, low on power, and surrounded by hostile ships. Any chance you can tow us out of here?" There was a pause, then a chuckle. "Hostile ships, huh? Sounds like you've been having fun. All right, we'll see what we can do. Stand by." The Starlight Runner maneuvered into position, its grappling hooks latching onto the Eclipse Voyager *. As the two ships connected, Ryan and his crew gathered near the airlock, waiting anxiously for their rescuers. When the door opened, a tall man with graying hair and a weathered face stepped through, followed by a younger woman with sharp eyes and a confident stance. "I'm Sam," the man said, extending a hand. "And this is Mia. Heard you had some trouble with the Vraxians." "You could say that," Ryan replied, shaking his hand. "We appreciate the assist." Sam nodded, glancing around at the damaged interior of the ship. "Looks like you gave them a run for their money. Still, you're lucky we found you when we did." Ryan didn't argue. Luck had played a part, but so had skill, determination, and more than a little ingenuity. As the Starlight Runner began towing them toward safety, Ryan couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. They had faced impossible odds and survived, not because they were stronger or better equipped, but because they refused to give up. The aliens had picked the wrong human ship to mess with, and Ryan knew they wouldn't forget it anytime soon. "But it gives us a fighting chance," Ryan countered. "If we time it right, we can set it off just as they break free. By the time they recover, we'll already be gone, or at least far enough away to hide." Emily looked uneasy. "And if they catch us afterward? Or if the EMP doesn't work?" Ryan met her gaze, his voice steady. "Then we go down swinging. Either way, we don't let them win." After a long pause, Lila sighed and nodded. "All right, let's do it. But we'll need to rig the core manually. It's not designed for this kind of overload." "I'll help," Jake offered, standing up. "2 sets of hands will make it faster." As Leela and Jake got to work dismantling the disruptor core, Ryan and Emily prepared the rest of the ship for the EMP. Ryan instructed Emily to send out one final distress signal, hoping someone, anyone, would hear it. The message was short and urgent. "Under attack by Vraxian pirates. Coordinates attached. Please assist." Meanwhile, Leela and Jake worked feverishly in the engineering bay, their tools clinking against metal as they modified the disruptor. Sparks flew as they rewired the core, bypassing safety protocols to amplify its output. The air grew thick with tension as the minutes ticked by. "How much longer?" Ryan called out, stepping into the bay. 5 minutes, Lila replied, her voice strained. "Maybe less if we push it." Ryan nodded and returned to the bridge, where Emily was monitoring the sensors. Suddenly, her eyes widened. "Captain, they're breaking through." On the view screen, the debris blocking the asteroid channel began to shift and collapse. The Vraxian ships emerged slowly, their hulls scared but intact. Kalthar's voice crackled over the comms once more, filled with rage. "You will pay for your insolence, humans." Ryan ignored him, turning to Emily. "How long until the EMP is ready?" 2 minutes, she said, her voice trembling. The Vraxians opened fire, their plasma bolts hitting the Eclipse Voyager's already weakened shields. Alarms blared as the ship rocked violently, throwing everyone off balance. "Leela, Jake," Ryan shouted into the intercom. "We need that EMP now." 30 seconds, Leela yelled back. Ryan gripped the edge of the console, his heart pounding. The shields flickered and failed, leaving the ship exposed. One more hit, and they'd be finished. 10 seconds. Lila's voice came through, strained but resolute. The Vraxians closed in, their weapons charging for a final blow. Ryan braced himself, his finger hovering over the activation switch. Now, Leela screamed. Ryan pressed the button. A blinding flash of light erupted from the asterisk Eclipse Voyager asterisk, engulfing the surrounding space in a wave of electromagnetic energy. The screens went dark, the lights flickered out, and the hum of the ship's systems died completely. Silence filled the void. For a moment, no one moved. Then, slowly, Ryan exhaled. Did it work? Emily checked her console, which flickered back to life briefly. Their ships, they're disabled. No power, no weapons. Relief washed over the crew, but it was short-lived. The asterisk Eclipse Voyager asterisk was adrift, powerless, and vulnerable. They had survived. For now. But their fight was far from over. The Eclipse Voyager drifted away from the asteroid field, its battered frame groaning under the strain of the damage it had endured. The crew worked tirelessly to keep the ship running, their movements hurried but focused. Lila was hunched over her console, rerouting power from non-essential systems to keep life support and basic functions operational. Her hands moved quickly, sweat beading on her forehead as she muttered to herself. "We're holding together," she said finally, looking up at Ryan. "But barely. Another hit like that, and we're done for." Ryan nodded, his expression grim. He knew they couldn't afford another fight. Not in their current state. The disruptor weapon was useless now, its energy reserves completely drained after the last shot. Without it, they were defenseless against the Vraxians if they managed to break free from the debris trap. Jake leaned back in his chair, rubbing his temples. "Think those rocks will hold them long enough?" "Long enough for what?" Emily asked, her voice tinged with frustration. "We're still stranded out here. Even if they don't catch us, we're sitting ducks without engines or shields." Ryan turned to face his crew, his jaw tightening. "We'll figure it out. First, we need to focus on staying alive. Leela, how's the repair progress?" Leela sighed, shaking her head. "Not great. The EMP blast fried most of our systems. I can patch things up temporarily, but it's going to take days to fix everything properly, if we even have the parts." Ryan clenched his fists, his mind racing. They needed a backup plan, something to buy them time until help arrived, or until they could fend for themselves again. That's when Jake spoke up, his tone hesitant but determined. "What about the EMP idea I mentioned earlier?" he asked. "If we overload the disruptor core, we could create a massive pulse. It would fry every system within range, including ours, but it might knock out the Vraxians for good." The room fell silent as everyone processed the suggestion. An EMP would leave the asterisk Eclipse Voyager asterisk powerless, but it could also disable the Vraxian ships entirely. It was risky, but it might be their only chance. "It's suicide," Leela said bluntly. "Without power, we won't have life support, navigation, or comms. We'd be dead in the water." The Eclipse Voyager darted between the jagged asteroids, its hull scraping dangerously close to the rocks as Jake pushed the ship to its limits. The crew worked in tense silence, each of them focused on their task. Outside, the Vraxian ships struggled to keep up, their larger frames ill-suited for the tight maneuvers required in the asteroid field. Plasma bolts streaked past, illuminating the dark expanse with flashes of green light, but the debris provided just enough cover to keep the pirates at bay. For now. Ryan gripped the armrests of his chair, his knuckles white, as he watched the chaos unfold on the view screen. "Jake, how much longer can we stay in here?" Jake glanced over his shoulder, his face pale but determined. "Not long. These rocks are tearing up our shields faster than I'd like. If we don't find a way out soon, we're going to be sitting ducks." Leela, still stationed at her console, frowned as she studied the energy readings. And the disruptors almost tapped out. One more shot, maybe two if we're lucky. After that, It's useless. Ryan nodded, his mind racing. They needed a plan, something bold enough to give them an edge. He turned to Emily, who was monitoring the comms. Anything from command? Any sign of reinforcements? Emily shook her head, frustration evident on her face. Nothing yet. Whoever picked up our distress signal is either too far away or too scared to help. Great, Jake muttered under his breath. So it's just us against an entire pirate fleet. No pressure. Ryan ignored the sarcasm and stood up, pacing the bridge. His eyes flicked to the disruptor weapon mounted near Layla's station. It was their only advantage, but using it recklessly wouldn't solve anything. They needed precision and timing. Then an idea struck him, risky but potentially effective. "Listen up," Ryan said, his voice cutting through the tension. "We used the disruptor one last time, not to attack, but to create a trap. We lure the Vraxians into a narrow channel between two large asteroids, then collapse the passage behind them. If we do it right, we can pin them down long enough to slip away." Leela raised an eyebrow. "And what happens if they figure it out before we get clear?" "They won't," Ryan replied firmly. "They're cocky. They think they've already won. We'll use that against them." The crew exchanged uneasy glances but didn't argue. They trusted Ryan, even when his plans sounded insane. Lila got to work recalibrating the disruptor while Jake plotted a course toward the designated choke point. Emily kept watch on the sensors, alerting them to any changes in the Vraxians' movements. As the Eclipse Voyager approached the narrow gap between two massive asteroids, Calthar's voice crackled over the comms once again. "Your tricks will not save you, humans. Surrender now, and I may grant you a quick death." Ryan smirked, though there was no humor in it. "Tell him thanks, but we'll pass." He gestured to Emily, who cut the transmission without hesitation. Moments later, the Vraxian ships followed them into the channel, their plasma cannons firing wildly. The Eclipse Voyager rocked violently as another blast hit its shields, but Jake held steady, guiding the ship through the treacherous path. When they reached the other side, Ryan gave the order. "Now, Leela." Leela activated the disruptor, aiming it at the walls of the channel. A brilliant beam of energy shot out, striking the asteroids with devastating force. The rocks shattered instantly, sending a cascade of debris tumbling into the gap. The Vraxian ships tried to retreat, but it was too late. The falling rubble sealed off the passage, trapping them inside. "Yes," Jake shouted, slamming his fist onto the console. "That ought to teach them." But Ryan wasn't celebrating. He stared at the view screen, watching the dust settle where the Vraxians had been moments earlier. "Don't count them out yet," he warned. "Those pirates aren't stupid. They'll find a way out sooner or later." Still, the crew allowed themselves a brief moment of relief. For the first time since the encounter began, they had the upper hand. The Eclipse Voyager limped away from the asteroid field, its shields flickering and systems strained to their limits. But they were alive, and for now, that was enough. Ryan glanced at his team, pride swelling in his chest. Whatever came next, they'd face it together. The aliens had made a grave mistake underestimating them. The bridge of the Eclipse Voyager was alive with tension as the crew watched the effects of their new weapon unfold. The prototype disruptor beam had struck one of the Vraxian ships, causing its sleek hull to crackle with energy before it veered off course and disappeared into the void. For a brief moment, silence filled the room, broken only by the faint hum of the ship's systems and the sound of relieved breaths. "It worked," Jake whispered, his voice tinged with disbelief. "It actually worked." Ryan didn't share in the moment of triumph. His eyes were locked on the remaining Vraxian ships, which now circled cautiously, their movements slower and more deliberate. "Don't get too excited," he said sharply. "They're not done yet." Calthar's voice crackled over the comms again, this time laced with anger rather than arrogance. "You dare attack us, humans. You will regret this." Emily quickly muted the transmission, shaking her head. These guys don't take well to surprises, do they? No kidding, Leela muttered, her fingers still flying across her console as she monitored the weapon's energy levels. We've got maybe 2 or 3 shots left before this thing burns out. After that, we're back to being sitting ducks. Ryan nodded grimly. Then we'd better make those shots count. Jake, keep plotting evasive maneuvers. Emily, see if you can boost our sensors. Maybe we can find another blind spot to exploit. And Leela. He glanced at her briefly. Keep that weapon ready for when I say so. As the seconds ticked by, the Vraxians regrouped, their ships forming a tighter formation around the Eclipse Voyager *. Plasma bolts streaked past the ship, slamming into its weakened shields and causing the entire vessel to shudder violently. Alarms blared as the shield strength dropped dangerously low. We can't take much more of this, Jake shouted, gripping his console tightly. If they hit us again, we're done. Not yet, Ryan said through gritted teeth. His mind raced, searching for a way to turn the tide. Then an idea came to him, a risky one. But it might just work. Jake, there's an asteroid field about 15 clicks starboard. Can you get us there? Jake frowned, studying the navigation display. Maybe. But even if we make it, those rocks are big enough to tear us apart if we're not careful. We don't have a choice, Ryan replied firmly. It's the only cover we've got. Leela, once we're inside, use the disruptor to collapse some of the larger asteroids. If we're lucky, we can trap them in the debris. Leela nodded, though her expression showed she wasn't entirely convinced. All right, but I hope your luck is better than mine. Ryan turned back to the controls, his hand steady despite the chaos around him. Everyone hold on. This is going to get rough. With a burst of thrust, the Eclipse Voyager surged forward, narrowly dodging another volley of plasma fire. The ship rocked violently as it pushed its engines to the limit, racing toward the jagged expanse of the asteroid field. Behind them, the Vraxians gave chase, their weapons blazing. They're gaining on us, Emily warned, her voice rising in panic. Almost there, Jake shouted back, sweat dripping down his face as he guided the ship through the first cluster of asteroids. Rocks tumbled past the viewport, close enough to scrape the hull if they strayed even slightly. Now, Leela, Ryan barked. Leela didn't hesitate. She activated the disruptor beam, aiming it at a massive asteroid directly in the path of the pursuing Vraxians. The weapon fired, striking the rock with pinpoint precision. The asteroid shattered into a cascade of smaller fragments, creating a deadly barrier that forced the alien ships to scatter. Yes, Jake exclaimed, punching the air. That bought us some breathing room. But Ryan remained focused, his jaw clenched as he scanned the chaos unfolding outside. Don't celebrate yet, he said sharply. They'll adapt. We need to stay one step ahead. As the Eclipse Voyager plunged deeper into the asteroid field, the crew worked together with newfound urgency. Jake plotted a zigzagging course through the rocks, while Emily kept scanning for any signs of ambush. Lila monitored the disruptor, conserving its limited power for when it would matter most. For now, they had survived, but Ryan knew the battle was far from over. The Vraxians weren't the type to give up easily, and their leader, Calthar, seemed determined to prove his superiority. Still, as Ryan glanced at his crew, he felt a spark of pride. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and cornered. But they hadn't given up. Not yet. Whatever happened next, the aliens had truly picked the wrong human ship to mess with. The silence on the bridge of the Eclipse Voyager was heavy, broken only by the faint hum of the ship's systems. Ryan's eyes narrowed as he stared at the screen, his mind working quickly. Calthar's ultimatum hung in the air like a storm cloud, but Ryan knew giving in wasn't an option. Surrendering to the Vraxians meant death, or worse. He glanced at his crew, each of them tense and waiting for his next move. Emily, Ryan said calmly, cut the transmission. Emily hesitated for a moment, then nodded and pressed a button on her console. The image of Calathar disappeared, leaving the screen blank. The tension eased slightly, but everyone knew they were out of time. Jake leaned forward in his seat, his earlier confidence replaced by urgency. "What's the plan, Captain?" he asked. "Those ships are bigger than us, faster than us, and probably armed to the teeth. We can't outrun them, and we sure as hell can't fight them." Ryan didn't respond immediately. His gaze shifted to Leela, who was already typing furiously at her console. "Leela, how bad is it?" She frowned, scanning the data streaming across her screen. "Their weapons are charged and locked onto us. Shields are up, but they won't hold long against whatever those things are packing. And—" she paused, her voice dropping slightly. "They're jamming our engines. We're not going anywhere." Ryan cursed under his breath. The situation was grim, but he refused to give up. There had to be a way out. He turned back to the crew, his tone firm. "We've been in tight spots before. We'll get through this one too. Jake, plot every possible route out of here. Asteroid fields, gas clouds, anything that might slow them down. Emily, keep trying to send a distress signal. Even if they're jamming us, someone might pick it up." "And what about me?" Leela asked, her hand still flying over her controls. "You're with me," Ryan said. "We're checking the cargo bay. Now." Leela raised an eyebrow, but didn't argue. She followed Ryan as he hurried off the bridge, their footsteps echoing through the narrow corridors of the ship. The cargo bay was located near the rear of the vessel, filled with crates of supplies destined for the colony. But Ryan wasn't interested in the supplies. Instead, he led Leela to a small, unmarked panel on the wall. With a few quick motions, he pried it open, revealing the hidden compartment inside. Leela's eyes widened as she saw what was inside. A sleek, metallic device that looked like a cross between a weapon and a generator. It was compact but clearly advanced, its surface etched with intricate patterns and glowing blue lines. "What is that?" she asked, her voice tinged with awe. "It's a prototype," Ryan explained, grabbing the device carefully. "Admiral Hayes gave it to us before we left Earth. Said it might come in handy if things got rough." Looks like he was right. Leela examined the device closely, her engineer's instincts kicking in. "This looks like some kind of energy weapon. High frequency, maybe. If we can get it online, it might give us a fighting chance." Ryan nodded. "Exactly. Get it hooked up to the main power grid. We don't have much time." Back on the bridge, Jake was busy mapping potential escape routes, while Emily worked tirelessly to boost the ship's transmitter. Her fingers danced over the controls as she adjusted frequencies and rerouted power. Sweat beaded on her forehead, but she didn't stop. Finally, a faint beep signaled success. "I got something out," she exclaimed. "It's weak, but it's there. If anyone's listening, they'll hear us." Before anyone could respond, the ship shuddered violently as a blast from one of the Vraxian vessels struck their shields. Alarms blared, and red warning lights flashed across the bridge. Jake gripped his chair tightly. "They're firing on us." Ryan's voice crackled over the intercom. "Hold steady. We're almost ready." Moments later, Ryan and Leela burst back onto the bridge, carrying the prototype weapon. Leela rushed to a nearby console, connecting the device to the ship's systems. The blue lines on its surface flared brighter as it powered up. Ryan took his seat, gripping the armrests tightly. "All right, team," he said, his voice steady despite the chaos. "Let's show these pirates why messing with humans is a bad idea." As the Vraxians prepared to fire again, the Eclipse Voyager unleashed the prototype weapon for the first time. A brilliant beam of energy shot out, striking one of the alien ships and sending it spinning out of control. For the first time since the encounter began, hope flickered in the hearts of the crew. They weren't done yet, not by a long shot. The Eclipse Voyager drifted silently through the vast emptiness of space, its engines humming softly as it carried its precious cargo toward a distant colony. Captain Ryan Carter stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the swirling expanse of stars outside the viewport. He was a man of average height with short brown hair and a steady gaze that reflected years of experience in deep space navigation. Beside him, Leela Munro, the ship's engineer, tapped away at her console, running routine diagnostics. She was sharp and practical, with a knack for fixing things most people would consider beyond repair. "Everything looks good," Leela said, glancing up from her screen. "Engines are stable, life support is holding, and we're right on schedule." Ryan nodded but didn't take his eyes off the viewport. "Good. Let's keep it that way. We've got enough trouble waiting for us at the colony without adding any surprises along the way." Jake Harper, the navigator, leaned back in his chair at the far end of the bridge. He was younger than the others, with a mop of sandy blonde hair and a laid-back attitude that often clashed with Ryan's more serious demeanor. "You worry too much, Captain," Jake said with a grin. "We're just hauling supplies. What could possibly go wrong?" Emily Dawson, the communications officer, rolled her eyes as she adjusted her headset. She had a calm presence, her dark hair tied neatly into a ponytail. "Famous last words, Jake," she said dryly. "If I were you, I'd knock on wood." The crew chuckled, their laughter filling the quiet hum of the ship. For now, everything felt normal. The *Eclipse Voyager* wasn't a fancy starship or a military vessel. It was a workhorse, built for reliability rather than speed or firepower. But to Ryan and his team, it was home. They'd been traveling together for years, facing all sorts of challenges, and they trusted each other completely. Layla turned back to her console, frowning slightly. "Wait a second," she muttered under her breath. Her fingers moved quickly over the controls as she zoomed in on an odd reading. "Captain, do you see this?" she asked, pointing to a small blip on the scanner display. It was faint, almost like static, but it definitely wasn't natural. Ryan stepped closer, studying the data. "Could be cosmic interference," he said thoughtfully, "or maybe a sensor glitch." "It doesn't look like either," Lila replied. "It's moving, slowly but steadily, and it's not on any known flight path." Jake sat up straighter, his earlier humor fading. "Think it's something we should be worried about?" Before Ryan could answer, Emily spoke up. "I'm picking up a signal," she said, adjusting her headset again. "It's faint, but it's definitely artificial. Not human, though." The mood on the bridge shifted instantly. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. They were far from Earth, in a region of space where encounters with alien species weren't uncommon. But they weren't always friendly. Ryan crossed his arms, his expression hardening. "Keep scanning," he ordered, "and prep the shields, just in case." As the minutes ticked by, the strange signal grew stronger. Whatever it was closing in fast. Suddenly, the scanners lit up with multiple contacts appearing out of nowhere. Large, sleek ships materialized around the Eclipse Voyager *, their hulls gleaming ominously in the light of a nearby star. "They're hailing us," Emily said, her voice tight with tension. Ryan took a deep breath. "Put them on screen." A moment later, the face of an alien appeared, a towering insectoid creature with glowing green eyes and jagged mandibles. Its voice crackled through the speakers, harsh and commanding. "This is Calthar of the Vraxian fleet. Surrender your vessel, or you will be destroyed." The crew froze, staring at the screen in stunned silence. Ryan broke the tension first, his voice steady despite the situation. "We're just a cargo ship," he said firmly. "There's no need for hostility." Calthar's mandibles clicked menacingly. "Do not test my patience, human. You have 10 seconds to comply." Ryan clenched his jaw, his mind racing. He knew surrender wasn't an option. It never was with pirates like these. Whatever happened next, one thing was certain. The Vraxians had picked the wrong human ship to mess with.